African traditional marriages during times of our great-grandfathers were marriages bounded by traditional laws and cultures. These were laws and cultures parents echoed to their daughters' ears while growing up. Now, let's come to the present generation, the Gen Z generation. Do these echoes of wisdom still work for our present generation? To truly understand this evolution, we must first step back into a world where culture ruled every corner of existence. A world where marriage was more than two people coming together, it was the merging of destinies, clans, bloodlines, and ancestral spirits. In those days, the journey to marriage began long before a man approached a woman. It began with the reputation of a family. In many African societies, a family's honor was its identity. Parents protected their name with vigilance, knowing that when their daughter eventually married, her behavior, her grace, her discipline, and her upbringing would reflect the entire lineage. So the wisdom began early. Mothers whispered teachings during weaving sessions. Grandmothers told stories as they roasted maize by the evening fireplace. Aunts corrected behavior during chores and ceremonies. Girls grew up learning how to greet elders, how to manage a household, how to cook traditional meals, how to speak with respect, how to dress with modest dignity, how to settle disputes peacefully, and how to maintain the honor of her marriage. These were not ordinary teachings. They were the fabric of culture. The boys, too, grew within a framework. Their fathers taught them strength, leadership, and discipline. They learned farming, hunting, fishing, inheritance customs, and lineage responsibilities. Before marriage, a man had to prove that he could provide, protect, and lead. In contrast to modern times, the man was equally prepared. Fathers and uncles taught him the weight of responsibility. They reminded him that a wife was not a servant, but a gift from the ancestors. A man who mistreated his wife risked angering the spirits of his lineage. In those days, the man was considered the king of his empire. Not because he barked orders, but because he earned that respect. He provided food, shelter, security, and leadership. He farmed vast lands, raised livestock, and worked tirelessly. When his wives called him my king, my crown, my strength, those words were born from admiration. And yes, polygamy existed, but it had structure. A man could not marry multiple wives unless he could care for them. Older wives mentored younger wives. Children saw every wife as mother. Inheritance rights were clear. Family units were harmonious. Conflict was rare because the entire community helped maintain order. A marriage disagreement was never a private battle, it was resolved through elders, aunties, uncles, and lineage heads. There was no such thing as divorce for minor issues. Marriage was considered sacred, protected, and permanent. Even when a woman left her marital home in frustration, her parents did not celebrate her return. They guided her back with wisdom. The elders mediated with calm authority. Peace was restored. This was the structure that held African marriages strong for centuries. But then, times changed. Colonialism introduced Western schooling, Christianity, new laws, and a different worldview. Urbanization shifted priorities. Men left farming for office work. Women gained access to education, employment, and leadership roles. Marriage, therefore, was not an emotional decision, but a cultural duty. When a man saw a woman he admired, he did not simply walk up to her. He consulted with the elders. He sent emissaries. He followed protocols shaped by centuries. In many traditions, the first step was the knocking on the door, a symbolic gesture where the groom's family approached the bride's family, carrying gifts, kola nuts, palm wine, yam, goats, or cloth, depending on the cultural group. This was not mere formality, it was respect. A marriage that did not follow these steps was considered spiritually incomplete. The bride's family did not merely look at the man, they evaluated his lineage. Is his family honorable? Are there histories of good behavior? Does he come from a lineage of hard workers? Is his clan free from curses or spiritual stains? Because in Africa, marriage was not just between two individuals. It was between two entire histories. After approval, the bride price followed, not a purchase price, but a token of appreciation. Every item carried meaning. The goats symbolized fertility and wealth. The yam symbolized sustenance. The palm wine represented unity. The wrappers represented dignity and beauty. The money symbolized gratitude. The bride price was not meant to burden, it was symbolic acknowledgement of the parents' efforts in raising a woman worthy of marriage. Then came the ceremonies, vibrant, colorful, spiritually rich. Women adorn the bride with beads, waist chains, henna, and special oils. Her hair was styled traditionally, signifying she was transitioning from maidenhood to womanhood. She was taught the final round of wisdom: how to treat her husband, how to raise children, how to maintain peace in the home, and how to keep the fire of marriage burning. Gradually, the ancient communal marriage structure weakened. More decisions became emotional rather than cultural. People married for love, not lineage. Families no longer lived in compounds. Elders lost their influence. Bride price lost its symbolic meaning and became transactional. Roles shifted. Expectations changed. And modern pressures entered the marriage space. When the Gen Z generation arrived, the shift was complete. This generation was raised by technology. They grew up watching foreign movies, listening to global music, scrolling through social media, and consuming content that clashed with traditional values. Marriage today is influenced by TikTok trends, Instagram lifestyles, celebrities, influencers, political ideologies, and global cultural movements. The traditional idea of a man must be king transformed into debates about gender equality. The idea of a woman must be humble and obedient transformed into conversations about independence and mental health. Co-parenting became common. Baby mamas and baby daddies became normalized terms. Marriage became optional, not expected. Divorce became quick and accessible. Men and women both walked away whenever peace left the home. Many modern marriages stand on fragile foundations. Some couples marry for wealth. Some marry for status. Some marry for beauty. Some marry out of pressure. Some marry for show. Social media glamorizes perfection, creating unrealistic expectations. Yet, across the ocean, the Western white union continues with its own model, one centered around dating, courtship, love, compatibility, and emotional vulnerability. This union has its flaws, but it also offers clarity. Roles are openly discussed. Communication is encouraged. Emotional needs matter. Counseling is normalized. Boundaries are respected. Personal happiness is prioritized. However, Western marriages also fall apart quickly. Once love fades, separation becomes easy. Families rarely intervene. Divorce rates remain high. Over the years, Western influence has blended with African values, creating a complex marriage model, neither fully African nor fully Western. This hybrid system struggles to find balance. African culture wants patience. Western culture wants equality. African culture wants communal involvement. Western culture wants privacy. African culture emphasizes duty. Western culture emphasizes happiness. And so, marriages today exist between two worlds, two ideologies, two histories. But in the end, what truly matters is not the system you choose, but the principles you uphold. Whether you choose African traditional marriage, or Western white union, or a modern hybrid model, the foundations that make marriage last remain unchanged since the beginning of time. They are wisdom, respect, commitment, communication, patience, and genuine love. Cultures may evolve. Generations may shift. Civilization may change values. But these virtues remain timeless. And so the conclusion is simple. No matter what path you choose, let the echoes of ancestral wisdom and the purity of genuine love be the backbone of your union. For those are the only forces strong enough to carry a marriage from generation to generation, through storms and sunshine, through culture and civilization, into eternity.